Get ready for epic Karen takedowns, and don't pick on disabled people, Karen, or else. This is our first story. Mega Karen, the entitled witch who screamed at me about her rights, insulted me, and then started recording me when I told her to get out, posted by Other Cantaloupe. This one's a doozy. Buckle up. It's gonna be a long story, but it's worth the read. We'll call the woman Karen, and her husband Kent. Let me give you just a mental image of these people, okay? Kent looks like the average middle-aged guy. He's got like a t-shirt and jeans and old tennis shoes. Karen is the pinnacle of all that has ever been categorized as a Karen. Her foundation was way too dark and orange for her skin tone. Her hair was thin and bleached blonde, and she had some kind of crackhead pigtails thing going on. She obviously had done Botox and gotten a lot of fillers in her cheeks. She's also middle-aged, kind of like Dolly Parton's face, except a bit narrower and with Donald Trump's complexion, like i.e. caked in orange foundation, and hair color. Okay, I'd already dealt with one entitled woman who yelled at me during that shift, so I wasn't really having the greatest day. But I was just taking it in stride, until Karen and her husband, Kent, came in. Kent was the one who came to the desk. He was a walk-in, and it was Memorial Day weekend with 3 rooms left to sell. 1 double room on the first floor and 2 suites on the upper floor. Kent talked over me and opted for the double, which was $10 cheaper than a suite, but it was also a pet room on the ground floor, our pet-friendly floor, while 2 and 3 were pet-free. I tried to tell him all the standard stuff, but he was like, yeah, I just want the room. And he wouldn't listen, so whatever, here's your key. He goes to his room with Karen, and everything is great. For about 20 minutes, Kent comes back out and says he can hear someone's dog occasionally barking. Okay, I get it. Listening to a barking dog is annoying as heck. People aren't supposed to leave their pets in the room alone anyway. I apologized and said that I'd call the guest to see what I could do. I offered to move him to another room on the upper floors, and he said, no, we're not moving. We shouldn't have to. People with dogs should have to move. Everyone has dogs down that hallway, Kent. Can't you just move them all to the other end of the hall or something? For a second, I thought he was joking. No, he was not. Holy entitled Batman. No, I can't and I won't. I told him I'd do what I could to get a hold of the guest who owned the dog. He went back to his room and came out 5 minutes later to ask if I'd done anything. Mind you, the dog had stopped barking at this point. I said I couldn't get a hold of the guest, and I again offered him to another room. He said, no, I told you we're not moving. They have to move. Well, whatever, man. He goes back to his room, and 15 minutes later, he comes back out with Karen. Karen says, okay, this is ridiculous. We didn't pay to hear someone's dog moving around and making noise. You need to tell people that there are dogs in here. It is a pet-friendly hotel, Karen. Well, you need to tell people that. It's on the big sign outside. It's on our website. There's signs about dogs on the walls around the hotel. And it was written on the paper that you signed and initialed when you checked in. Well, they shouldn't be prioritized over people. She stared at me like she was waiting for me to say something, but I don't freaking know what she expected me to say. I just shrugged and said, it's a pet-friendly hotel. Okay, but we're people and we pay to stay here. So did the guests with pets? They paid for a room and they paid the pet fee to stay here. We have rights and we are your priority, not people with dogs. People are prioritized over animals. Yeah, well, pet owners have rights too. Aren't you a snobby freaking witch, getting all smart mouth with me like you're not supposed to be prioritizing us over animals? You can stop with the smart mouth witchy attitude right now. And you can leave now. Oh my goodness. The look that flashed across her face as she spluttered in surprise for a second was priceless. No, we aren't leaving. Get out, now. No, give us the other room. No, get out now. But you just offered us another room. I did, and then you got nasty and started screaming and insulting me, so now I'm telling you to leave. Go. No, you're going to give us the other room. If you don't leave, I will call the police and have you escorted off the property. And then, this is the part that makes me so freaking ticked that I swear my soul momentarily left my body to make room for the sheer rage that coursed through me. This witch whipped out her phone to record me, which is illegal in my state. Give us the room. Get out. Are you recording me? Yes, that's what you get when you're a snobby little witch. She was so happy with herself, like she's some kind of freaking genius dealing out some groundbreaking vigilante justice to her cruel oppressors. I can call my manager or call the cops. Pick one or get out. At that point, Karen went freaking berserk and just started screaming and screeching until her orange face turned red, screaming about how they should be prioritized and I'm such a freaking witch, smart mouth, snotty, snobby butthole, and they were getting that room, blah, 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 blah. Tons of insults and crap. My brain was kind of like, yeah, screw this crap. So I was standing behind the desk calmly and sarcastically saying, yep, sure, yep, as she was screaming at me. I reiterated her choices. She demanded my name and my manager. What a surprising turn of events. I cheerfully said, I'll write that down for you. But that didn't stop her from demanding that I tell her my name 1,000,000 times. My guess is she wanted me to say it on video. Kent told me to go call your manager. I went back to the office, I shut the door, called my manager, and just burst into tears as soon as she picked up. All the stress and emotion that I'd held in to keep it together just came out behind closed doors. I said I needed her to come in. I could barely explain why, just that there are these two jerks at the desk screaming at me and recording. Okay, it's okay, my manager said. Let me get dressed and I'll be right in. I tried to stop crying and pull it together before opening the door. I stopped for a second and I heard Karen telling another family that came in what a total witch I was. I opened the door and said, okay, she's on her way, have a seat. When will she be here? Soon. Again, have a seat. We are not going any. I said, have a seat. She stopped talking and jerked her head back and said, you really do have a snobby, witchy attitude problem, don't you? They went back to their room. The family that witnessed the tail end of it just looked at me like I was a piece of crap whenever they saw me for the rest of their stay. My manager came in and I was just in hysterics, crying and couldn't breathe to tell her what happened. I managed to grind out the beginning of it before Karen comes to the desk. Your employee refused us a room. Really, the manager said, because from what I heard, you refused a room that she offered to you. But then we wanted it and she said no. That's what happens when you yell at my front desk agents. She was yelling at us. I have a video. Yes, she said that you were recording her, which I'm not okay with. I don't care if you have a video. Why don't you come around the desk to talk to us? No, talk to me across my desk. You're being very rude. Just come around the desk to talk to us. This desk is between us for my protection. I don't know what you'll do. Karen huffed and shoved her phone in the manager's face to show her the video. I was back in the office, but from what I heard, the face that she made when she realized she hadn't actually been recording the entire time and only got about 30 seconds where she's yelling and I'm saying, yep, it must have been freaking priceless. My manager eventually gave them another room, which I was ticked as heck about. Why reward them for their bad behavior? This is why they act this way in the first place. Nobody tells them no. Karen was a total jerk. Why does she get to stay? At least my manager told them that they were not to bother me, not to speak to me, not to harass me like that. You can have the room, but you don't bother my front desk agent again. They kept their side of it, apparently. My manager hung around until they were in the new room and my Ativan was kicking in. I didn't hear another word from them, didn't see them again for the rest of the night. Haha, but they needed some kind of slap on the wrist out of the ordeal at the very least. I was ticked that they were staying. So before I went home, I set up a few wake-up calls for their room. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and 4 a.m. I'm told she didn't say a thing about it. Frickin' Karen, man. My horrible mother-in-law is homeless and my wife and I don't care. Posted by Tanning Tanner 11. This is going to be a crazy Karen story. Here it is. I'm a 25 male and married to a 26 female named Carol, and her mother, Danielle, who is 61, is a complete bag of garbage, and that's the nicest thing to say. During Carol's childhood, Danielle would always belittle Carol and manipulate her into the most BS stuff, mostly always claiming that her father abandoned them in Colorado to seek fame and fortune in California, and refusing to pay child support, where she would actually spend said child support on her own self, buying books and clothes and not supporting her daughter. Danielle also changed Carol's last name on Social Security to Danielle's last name when she was a little kid, which made it incredibly difficult for Carol to find a job as an adult because she was an illegal alien to the US government. That meant she had one last name on her birth certificate and a different last name on her Social Security card. Danielle also had a very crap job that didn't pay the best and had to get an apartment with Carol under Carol's name because Danielle had crappy credit and Carol had a 0 credit score because she was 18 at the time and didn't have her own bills to pay. Danielle kept getting on Carol's case about not having a job, but Carol said that she couldn't because of the name issue. They ended up getting evicted due to failure to pay rent because Danielle's job wasn't enough to pay for a luxury apartment and they had to move in with Grandma. Danielle later lost her job during COVID and has been unemployed ever since. There's way too many scenarios about how Danielle would take advantage of her own daughter, but I don't want to bore y'all with all these details. Anyway, on to the story. Back in late 2021, while me and Carol were engaged, she wanted to join the US Navy. She got her name changed to her father's last name on Social Security to match her birth certificate and even gave her recruiter child custody papers to prove her name. She enlisted, got through basic, completed her A schooling, and got her orders to serve on a ship. We got married in September 2022 before she was shipped to Virginia for her new orders. While Carol was serving and I spent time packing my belongings to move out to Virginia myself, I learned that Danielle was going to therapy to possibly move on, or so I imagined. I tried so dang hard to stay away from her during that time, but she was always bugging me, wondering why Carol wasn't talking to her during the day. I let her know on repeated occasions that she has no cell service on her ship, but to her, it was just one of those in one ear and right out the other things. I eventually made it to Virginia in December 2022 to be with Carol. We have been ignoring all of Danielle's calls for a while now. Fast forward to April. Carol gets a text from Danielle asking her to call her to talk. They talk on the phone for a while and Carol learns that her grandma is not doing well. I also get my brother's high school graduation invitation in the mail and I want to see him graduate in May, which means that Carol wants to see her grandma because she fears that she may not make it to the end of 2023. Danielle seemed to be super nice, and Carol and I both thought that she'd changed because of all the therapy she had been getting. So, last week, we fly back to Colorado, and Danielle loans us her car while we're there, and was being way too nice to us like a decent human. We see my brother walk across the stage and Carol gets to see her grandma. While there, we learn that Grandma wants to move into a, quote, more safer place, end quote, with Carol's aunt because of her health. And Danielle has to move somewhere else because, in her eyes, everyone doesn't want to take me in because the family doesn't like me. We told her that if we weren't living in a 650 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of the country, yeah, then we could help her. Again, she starts being even nicer to us while still in Colorado. I even warned Carol that her being nice could mean something bad in the future, given her past behavior. Carol agreed. A few days after we flew back to Virginia, which was 5 days ago, Carol gets a text from Danielle saying that she's going to have to live in her car because nobody will help her in. Carol asked her why she can't get a job and get her own apartment, and she said that, quote, I can't get a job at my age, and it's been too long, and it's very expensive to live on your own, especially in Colorado. Carol told her that we unfortunately can't help her because, 1, we live in a small apartment, and 2, we live 7 states away on the other side of the country. So now, here we are today. I'm at work, and I get a call from Carol saying that she needs to be with me. I ask if everything's okay because I can tell she's not. She said she would talk about it when she got there. 30 minutes later, she shows up and I go on my lunch break with her. She tells me that her mom literally asked for $1,000 to help her move from Colorado to Virginia so she could be with us. $1,000! We told her multiple times we couldn't help her because we don't have that kind of room. We let alone don't have $1,000 to just give away because we live paycheck to paycheck. I was so flabbergasted. And then Carol told me that her being super nice in recent times was way too good to be true, which is what I felt would happen. She either didn't get the therapy that she needed or she lied. I don't know what the case was about that because there is no proof. I wasn't around for this part, but Carol and Danielle argued over the phone, more like cussing each other out per se. Danielle was upset with Carol for not providing a home for her when she did it for her first 20 years of life, and now Carol can't return the favor. Carol then told her mother just screw off already before hanging up and blocking her completely. Danielle is now homeless and living in her Nissan Sentra, but we couldn't care less. All those years Carol had to endure due to Danielle's entitled and narcissistic behavior is now biting her in the butt, and nobody wants to live with her because of this, because that witch only cares about herself and knows what she's doing is wrong and doesn't give a crap. I personally and honestly don't care if she dies. I will pee on her grave when she dies. Non-disabled person demands seat from disabled person. Disabled person is ticketed for said seat. Posted by CMurf 1960. I am disabled and use a walker. I have season tickets to the local minor league baseball game and I sit in an ADA section at the ballpark. It's on the concourse so I don't have to navigate steps to get to and from the restroom, the concessions, and so on. I have the same seat for every game of the season. It's at the end of the row and there's space for me to put my folded walker. It folds pretty small. And then room for me to get in and out even when the wheelchair spaces on the other side of my seat are occupied. Season ticket holders are given a card that the ticket taker scans on the way in. Okay, so one day last week, I was there, sitting in my seat, drinking my beer, waiting for the game to start, when this large group comes along. A few developmentally disabled adults and a lot of non-disabled companions. The row I sit in has 10 seats. 4 of them are actually wheelchair spaces. The 4 wheelchair spaces are taken by those who need them. That leaves 5 regular seats, as the one I am sitting in does not count here. So this able-bodied woman, who appeared to be the leader of this group, came over to me and then asked me to move because I was not ticketed for the seat, that her group had the whole row, so I had to move. I told her that she was mistaken and showed her my season ticket card that has the section, the row, and the seat number printed right there on it. She still would not believe me and then kept demanding that I move. I was about to go and fetch a staff member to resolve the issue when one came over. I've been a season ticket holder at this place since 2011 and I've had this particular seat for 2 years now. Almost everybody who works there knows me, so this was a battle that the entitled Karen could never hope to win. So the staff member guy tells the entitled Karen to leave me alone, that I'm ticketed for that seat and I don't have to move, and showed her where the seats her group was ticketed for are. They did have my whole row except for my seat, but only 5 of the non-disabled people could sit in the row, and the other 4 were wheelchairs. The rest of them had seats in the regular seating bowl, the same section, but right in front of the concourse row. The ADA row is for actual disabled people and a limited number of companions, not for all the non-disabled people in a large group. So entitled Karen relents and leaves me alone, sort of. She's complaining very loudly to her friends that I should have been considerate and given up my seat to her. I ignored her. But wait, there's more. There's a pile of folding chairs in the alcove of the restrooms behind this row, and these people found them and decided to use them to make their own row behind me because they all wanted to sit together. Since both the wheelchair spaces to the left of me were occupied, the only access I had in and out was a space about 2 feet wide. Fine, I can do that. Then another person with a folding chair came along and tried to block off that little space, so I would have no way to get out. I turned around and I told them no, and they backed off. The game was sold out, so there were no other seats for me to move to just to get away from them. I hope I never have to see them again. I completely agree with this comment here, do you? I think it's worth it to complain to the stadium management. Had there been an emergency, this would not have been safe conditions. I smell a lawsuit cooking, do you? You're not disabled, you're just faking it to get attention. The logic of gossip, posted by Fred's Red. This happened a few years ago when I was working at a booth in a mall selling phone cases. There's a rumor in my town, no clue how it started, that this guy, Justin, not his real name, is faking being in a wheelchair to get attention and sympathy. I know him personally, and I know that this rumor is not true. He was hit by a drunk driver while crossing a pedestrian crossing 10 years ago and is a paraplegic. I'm a C4 and 5 incomplete quadriplegic, and I can spot a fake disabled person easily. Anyone else with a spinal cord injury will be able to relate. So I was at work and serving a customer when I saw Justin going past in his wheelchair. My customer saw him and scoffed. Can you believe people like that? It's bad enough for people like you, but people like him, he needs to stop faking it. I was shocked, and for a second, I didn't know what to say. I was in customer service mode and didn't want to say anything that could make me lose my job. I tried to reply. That's Justin. He's a paraplegic. He's not faking it. He's fooled you too, you poor girl. His name is Justin, and he was hit by a drunk driver 10 years ago on this street. He was in a coma for a week, and he lost sensation from the waist down. If you look this up online, you'll find the report of the incident. Please do some research and don't believe everything you hear. She muttered some halfway butt apology and then walked away without buying anything. I want to say that I haven't heard any other conversations about Justin faking it, but it's a small town, and gossip spreads like herpes here. It's been about 13 years since his injury, and for someone that's supposedly faking it, he's kept up the ruse very, very well. The moral of this story? Don't believe everything you hear. Hey, you know what they say, an assuming makes a what out of you and me? Oh man, this is ridiculous. HOA finds me, our lawsuit takes them to court, and I make a fool out of them. Here's how. Click the video on your screen, you don't want to miss the fallout and answer this one, and I'll see you there.